Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today for May 20th. It's Alissa Coram here. And today we saw a pause in the market rally, but it was a bullish pause. We'll talk more. Joining me now to discuss is my colleague, Ed Carson. Ed, what do you have for us today?
Yeah, I want to take a look at Tesla rival Xiaomi, Quanta Services, and Amazon.
Okay, we'll take a look at those stocks. But first, as always, we've got to check in on those major indexes. It was a down day, but it's hard to be disappointed, Ed, with the type of action that we've seen lately and the type of finish that we had today. So the Nasdaq down 0.4%, but off of its intraday lows. Same for the S&P 500, down 0.4% on the day, breaking its win streak, but an inside day. So that's notable there. The Dow down about 0.3%, and the Russell 2000 just edging slightly lower on the day. So give us some perspective, Ed, of where we're at. This looks like a pretty bullish pause to me.
Yeah, we've been running up quite a bit, and now we have some tight action. Honestly, if we'd closed the session lows, it wouldn't have been the worst. I mean, it's nice to see that fight at the end, but we could almost use more of a pullback in some of these names, some of the stocks setting up. But what this is allowing is that, look, the 10-day line is catching up, the 21-day line is catching up, just taking a breather. And leading stocks are forming handles. We're going to look at a couple of stocks that have formed handles now, and deeper handles would probably be better in some cases. So, yeah, this is all good as long as the S&P and Nasdaq are above their 200-day lines. I think things are fine in this situation. A lot of moves here. News hasn't been that wild lately, which is nice. It's nice to have things calm and not constantly looking around for big volatile 2%, 3% intraday moves.
Yeah, that's right. And to your point about forming handles, the reasoning is if you're an investor and you're trying to get more exposure to the stock market, adding stocks to your portfolio, it's easier to have that sort of pullback before you get in versus buying at these extended levels. And then you get a normal digestion or a pullback either at the index level or the individual stock level. It can make it harder to stay in those positions as a trader.
Yeah, that's a really good way to describe why handles are important.
Okay, moving on. Next, let's take a look at QQQ. What's up with the NASDAQ 100 here, Ed?
Not a whole lot different, just the same stuff. I mean, it broke a winning streak, but again, this is pretty close to highs. I mean, honestly, this is, and so just if we can just pause for a little bit, the next stage is record highs for the Nasdaq 100, would be really impressive.
Okay, quick thoughts on blue chips and small caps, starting with the Dow.
I mean, it'd be nice if the Dow can hold above the 200-day line, but that's not our focus. And so it's doing all right. And it was an inside day there. The Russell 2000 with the IWM, that may, closed about flat. That needs to get above the 200-day line. It's nice that it's made some progress, but it's clearly the laggard among all those indexes.
Okay, and something that we covered Monday worth following up on today, and that is the action in gold. We've seen a pullback over the last couple of weeks after a strong move higher all of 2025, essentially, as the majority of the year, or at least the first couple of months, were really focused on playing defense and the flight to safety trades. Gold, definitely the standout there. But as stocks started to get back into rally mode, gold has eased, but we've been keeping an eye out for an ideal setup, which is a pullback and a bounce off of the 50-day line. And that's what we're getting this weekend. Gold up another 1.9% today, making its weekly gain and now about 3.2%.
Yeah, I mean, this was probably arguably the day to get back into it or to add to it if you'd done that. I did not, but it was a nice move above the 50-day line, 21-day line, trend line, however you want to look at it. It is interesting because that's sometimes seen as like a sign of investor fear or inflation. We're not seeing that in the stock market or the bond market. So, I mean, this last or not, or is this the canary in the coal mine? But
Mm.
it's nice to keep an eye on this. It's nice to even, it's almost could use this as a hedge. Maybe things work together, but if the stocks struggle, these known names might do well again.
And this is an example of a setup that we like to see. You have a strong prior uptrend, an orderly pullback, support at a level that you'd like to see, that 50-day line, very widely used, including by us here, Ed. But then instead of just buying the weakness, you wait for a little bit of that strength so you can have increased odds that it is starting to head higher again while having a level to trade off of and manage your risk, aka that 50-day line. If it closes below that level, that could be your sign to exit, or that this needs a little bit more time to digest.
Yeah, we try to get into things early, but not, but see some positive signs, and that's what we're seeing here.
Okay. Next on our list, let's take a look at ticker XIACY out of China. This is Xiaomi, and it's an EV company rivaling Tesla. Ed, you were pointing out to the team yesterday the strong action here for the stock, clearing an early entry within a cup with handle, and now today breaking out.
Yeah, Xiaomi is they are about to release the a new crossover EV that is expected to take on the Model Y. People always talk about, oh, there's going to be a Tesla killer. Well, it isn't a Tesla killer, but their first model, a sedan, that's been outselling the Tesla Model 3 in China for the last several
Hmm.
months. It has a buzz factor, a lot of, because this is a handset maker, so they know how to make the infotainment work. And so, they're production constrained. That's the only thing that's really holding them back. So this is doing well. The dots are because this trades over the counter in the U.S. So you're not going to see it's unusual action, that, but it trades at Hong Kong. This is a real. It has a lot of volume. It's a big company. So yeah, this is acting well. It's profitable. I honestly don't know how if the EV business is profitable yet. It does seem like demand is very strong. They do have it's a profitable company for sure. So that's something that is can give you a little bit of comfort, as opposed to some of these money losing startups. Yeah, so this one showing strength again. China name, lot of issues there. So don't get me wrong. There's lots of risk, but this is definitely one that this hasn't offered a lot of opportunities. It broke out several months ago, but didn't really offer an opportunity. This is sort of the first time since that late, like September, October, hasn't really offered an opportunity, and now it is.
Mhm. Last September, the breakout, roughly around that $12, $13 mark. Shares now trading around 35. So quite an explosive move from 12 all the way up to 37 or so
Yeah.
in just about 6 months. And as you said, now getting a new opportunity. What about earnings coming up around the corner, Ed?
Yeah, I haven't seen. I don't know if that's true. I was just looking beforehand, and I didn't see an earnings date for that company because it looks like they reported relatively recent. Though sometimes they'll release like annual numbers, and you'll see that with China names. But the annual report takes forever to come out, and then they quickly release another one. So you could see another report soon, but it hasn't. They haven't announced it yet.
Okay. So we'll keep an eye out for uh, confirmation of that earnings date that we don't have just yet. Sounds good. Okay. Do we also want to take a brief look at the EV landscape while we're
Yeah,
here?
just was scrattle on BYDDF hit a new high. It's out of a buy zone. This is doing very well. XPeng, XPEV, they'll report tomorrow. This is money losing. If they get above, say, those levels from last week, above the 50-day line, I suppose there could be something actionable. It has been doing very well in terms of sales lately. So that would be interesting. Tesla tried to move out to it. It hit a 3-month high. Actually would have been better if it had fallen today because you could have started working on a handle. So there's that little, but there was some comments this and that, but that could use a pause or maybe rise up to 400 and then a pause because it's extended from that 200-day
Mhm.
line aggressive entry.
Yes, it is. Okay, moving on. Let's take a look at PWR. This is Quanta Services in the heavy construction group. This is our stock of the day today at investors.com, forming the right side of the base. And Ed, you've been flagging the recent strength in this heavy construction group.
Well, a lot of them been doing well here. This one almost had a handle like a week and a half ago. Came like a few in like an intraday, missed it out. Now it's got a handle after this day. So that will be a handle on this. It's extremely shallow. This is why I talk about if the market could have a bigger pullback, it could probably be good because this would be great if this one could fall, maybe undercut the recent lows because you're not seeing a handle on a weekly. So that's only negative. Look, I mean, this one sold off on the DeepSeek news. Even though this is heavy construction, a lot of those firms are related to AI because they're building
Mhm.
electrical utilities and electrical plants, that feed into the AI. So that's also something to keep in mind. If you're buying a utility, if you're buying something, a heavy construction firm, and then you're buying an alternate energy firm, and then you buy an AI chip maker, guess what? You are not diversified. Those could all sell off at the same time because they're all the AI themes. So you need to look.
Yeah.
So that just something to keep in mind. That doesn't mean you can't be buying that, but this one
Mhm.
has been doing well. Some pretty solid numbers here. And it's actually, it could be, this handle sort of is forming sort of near the prior buy point. Not exactly, but it's sort of in that prior base before it poked out, and it was breaking out, and the DeepSeek news came in. So while it
Yeah.
was an ugly sell-off, that's the other thing. The market sold off because of DeepSeek and tariffs. I'm sure tariffs had an impact on Quanta services as well, but now you're seeing that up. And so
Mhm.
I'm more forgiving of that. It wasn't Quanta's fault that it did this. It really had nothing to do with Quanta. I mean, obviously, it affected the business. So uh, this is definitely one to be on the
Mhm.
radar. And again, a lot of names in the heavy construction field are doing well.
Yeah, so many stocks in the AI sphere look like this, and you're right, they can all sell off together. They did all sell off together on that DeepSeek news. So a great reminder there about portfolio diversification. All right, let's move on and take a look at Amazon, mega cap tech name, pulling back here and holding above its 200-day line, Ed.
This, and I just want to point out, this is one that is also forming a handle after today. It's not showing up. It'll take a couple hours, but it'll show up because it is high enough, even though it may not look like it, because that was a pretty big drop when it got down below. So it'd be nice to have this higher in the base. There is still a lot of overhead resistance. And it may be a broader question. If this had happened 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, that'd be different because then it would be leading the market. The RS
Mm,
line here is not. So that's an issue, is that the RS line is still not made a whole lot of progress because the whole market's rallied quite a bit. It sold off.
mhm,
And so that's just something I actually wanted to bring that up because, yes, you're seeing this, and yes, it could be positive, but it's not leading. Not saying it can't, but it's not leading right now. And so, and it's partly because of the earnings growth. I mean, the earnings growth went from a loss in 2022 to big, big gains for a couple of years. And now it's supposed to slow. I mean, and that's not it's more mature business. And it was impressive to see those mega caps. So mega caps may not lead.
mm,
So there's some positive, but there's some negatives too. And I think that, you don't just look at the positive, oh, it's got a cup with a handle. You should also look and just make sure, is this really the one I want to buy?
yeah,
I know you sometimes say, like this, I see better merchandise out there. I mean, you don't have to pick up anything. You can actually
yeah,
buy the very best stuff. If you only have to buy 3 shirts, or 8 shirts, guess what? They can be really nice shirts. That's what. Um,
yeah,
it's
totally
this one just
agree.
an okay. It's just an okay stock, but I wanted to bring it
Mhm.
up for that reason.
I I think that that's really valid in the current market climate. You don't wanna just get mega cap tech exposure for mega cap tech exposure's sake, right? Because it's a big household name, because it's performed well in the past, because you're interested in the business model with everything that they're doing outside of e-commerce, really looking taking a closer look at, is this really a leader? And if you do want mega cap tech exposure, pull up some comparisons. How is it performing versus its peers, and see if there's a better one in the bunch, because yeah, this has quite a few flaws here.
And you can buy something that's more of like the FNGA. I get confused with all the names, or get the Qs, or I have some U Pro that I bought early on in the rally that I still have. Those are
Mhm.
ways, if you're buying something that isn't leading the market and you just want to increase exposure, that is something else you could do, an index or a levered index
Yes,
ETF, as a way to play
love that approach.
things without going stock specific. Doesn't mean you're going to be safe from ups and downs, but it provides a little bit more security in that regard.
Mhm. Yes, FNGS is one way to play those FANG Plus or Mag 7 type stocks. FNGU, that was your leveraged version. I think that they did update it. Is that the
Yeah.
FN?
FNGS. I'm sorry. I'm
That's the
getting
single.
that's a single. So I'm sorry. I can't remember what they all are. But there are some levered out there. But it's just, those are the kind of things you can do. Rather than just buying something that trades with the market, you might as well buy the market or buy something that's more sector related.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just trying to see if I could pull it up here. Clearly, we trade that ticker a lot, Ed. You and I. No, but you said you got into U Pro, so that's your triple leveraged S&P. I was getting into TQQQ, so that's your triple leveraged
That's
Nasdaq
great.
100. So yeah, if you want to amp up your returns, you can look to those ETFs, and there are plenty that are thematic, sector focused, or broad market index focused. So, a good discussion there, Ed. I appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time today.
Actually, could we take a look at Palo Alto? I just wanted, there was actually a couple names I wanted to take a look at. Palo Alto, it would beat on EPS, maybe just beat by a hair on revenue. I don't know other details, but the stock is down after hours. haven't looked at the details, and it could bounce back. I don't know how things are going. Modine Manufacturing, MOD, that's one of these AI cooling plays. I mean, it's not doing great, and it's just doing okay. And then Take Two, that had earnings. I guess they beat. And Take Two, they're selling some stock or some debt, and I was just sort of glancing through. So that's coming
Mm,
down. Not a big move, but those were some things after the close.
appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll have to see how Palo Alto and the broader cybersecurity group acts tomorrow in the regular session. So thanks for flagging that, Ed. All
All right.
right, now we can let you go. Thank you. Okay. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. That is it from us for today, but we will be back with more tomorrow morning on IBD Live, investors.com/IBD Live for all the details on our daily morning live stream. We'll see you there. And then we'll also see you right back here tomorrow after the close. We also, on Wednesdays, have our weekly Investing with IBD podcast hosted by Justin Nielsen. And this week's guest is Charles Harris, portfolio manager at O'Neill Global Advisors. He's a fan favorite of our audience, and he's sure to provide great perspective on the current market, given his take on looking at past precedents. So we'll have to see what he has his eye on right now. So make sure you tune in tomorrow, Wednesday, live at 5 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel for our weekly podcast. And then, of course, on your listening platform of choice. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow.